All right, so get this right. Today, we are diving deep, and I mean deep, into this whole pop culture magic thing. With this guy, Taylor Ellwood. Ever heard of him?
Can't say I have.
Yeah, me neither at first, but get this. This guy's been like a big deal in the occult world for over 20 years. Like, he's written all these books, articles, the whole nine yards. But here's the thing. He's all about using pop culture, like stuff we see every day, for magic, you know?
That's interesting. So, like, Harry Potter spells for real.
Uh-huh. Not quite. I mean, it sounds kind of crazy, right? Like, can you really summon a demon using, say, a Pokemon analogy? I was skeptical, too. But Elwood's got serious cred. He's not just some, internet guru.
Yeah, what's his background?
Oh, he's got a deep background in, like, Taoist meditation, Western ritual magic, even chaos magic. So we're talking about someone who actually walked the walk, not just talked the talk.
Right, so it's not just some guy in his basement with a tinfoil hat and a deck of Pokemon cards. This is someone who's really dedicated his life to understanding, well, magic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then he goes and writes a book about, like, evoking demons using pop culture references. I mean, come on, that sounds a little out there, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. So how does he even approach that? Like, what's his take on spirits and demons?
Well, that's what makes him so different. He's all about building relationships with them. Even demons. Like, he sees them as partners, not things to be controlled.
Okay, so less like master and servant and more like, what, colleagues?
Yeah, more like a collaboration.
Yeah,
It's like
so-
he's saying, you got to respect these entities, even the scary ones.
That's a pretty different view than what you usually hear.
Right. But how did that even work? It's not like you can take a demon out for coffee to get to know them.
Well, Elwood's got a very deliberate process. It all starts with research, like digging into the history and lore of a spirit.
So you got to do your homework first. No winging it.
Definitely not.
Oh.
But then, and this is crucial, he turns that focus inward. He asks himself, why this spirit? What can it offer that I can't do myself?
So it's like a spiritual job interview, huh? You got to make sure you're a good fit.
Yeah, exactly. It's about self-awareness, being intentional, not just summoning whatever sounds cool.
Makes sense. So once he's found a spirit he's drawn to, how does he make contact?
He starts with invocation, which is basically calling upon the spirit on a spiritual level.
Okay, so far so good. Pretty standard stuff.
Right, but here's where it gets wild. Ellwood believes in mutual consent.
Wait, what? You're telling me demons have a choice in this?
He says so. He even gives this example of trying to work with the demon Visago. And they both decided it wasn't a good match, so they went their separate ways.
No way. So even demons have standards.
It seems so. That completely flips the script on how we usually think about demonology, doesn't it?
It totally does. Okay, but let's talk about the pop culture part of all this. How does he actually weave that in? Like, does he pull out a Star Wars lightsaber to summon a spirit?
Not exactly. Haha. Think of it more like using pop culture as a language to understand magical concepts.
Okay, I'm listening to that.
So he might find a Pokemon, for example, whose traits match the energy of a certain spirit. And then he'll use that as a framework to interact with it.
So instead of like dusty old grimoires, he's looking at comic books and video games for inspiration.
In a way, yeah. It's about making these ancient ideas more relatable to how we experience the world today.
But wouldn't that seem, I don't know, kind of disrespectful to more traditional practitioners?
That's a good question, and I'm sure some folks might raise an eyebrow.
Yeah, like, hey kid, get off my magical lawn.
Exactly. But Elwood's point is that magic has to adapt to survive. He's not saying ditch the old ways, but find new ways to connect with these energies that resonate with us now.
And that's where this whole egregore thing comes in, right?
Bingo. An egregore is basically like a collective entity created by a group's shared beliefs and emotions.
So like a hive mind.
Kinda, but more focused. And Ellwood says pop culture phenomena, with their huge fandoms, can create super strong egregores.
Hold on, you're saying that our love for like Star Wars could create a real living entity?
That's what he suggests. And he says communicating with these pop culture egregores feels different. More visual, more verbal, maybe because of the media involved compared to traditional spirits.
So you mean every time I watch a movie or geek out over a band, I'm doing magic?
He's not saying that watching Netflix is going to summon a demon, but he's asking us to consider if our relationship with pop culture has a deeper, more magical side than we realize.
Whoa. Okay, that's a lot to think about. But before we go full X-Files here, let's get back to Ellwood himself. We talked about his background in traditional magic. How does that play into all this pop culture stuff?
Ellwood's a true eclectic. He draws inspiration from everywhere: Taoist and Buddhist meditation, Western ritual magic, even chaos magic. He's always experimenting, trying new things.
So a real Renaissance man of the magical world.
You could say that. And this is where his work with the sphere of art process comes in.
Sphere of art, what's that all
Right.
about?
It's a system developed by another occultist, R.J. Stewart, but as always, Ellwood puts his own spin on it. It's about using art as a focal point for magic, connecting with energies or entities through creating and contemplating art.
So it's not just looking at a pretty picture, you're saying it's more active than that.
Exactly. The creation process itself, the energy you pour into it, that's what gives it power.
So I can't just hang up a poster of Van Gogh's Starry Night and hope for good vibes.
Probably not, haha. Ellwood also uses spatial design principles in this.
Spatial design, like interior decorating.
Kind of. He believes the arrangement of things, even on the ceiling, can affect the magical experience.
Wait, so he's saying my interior design choices could be influencing my magic.
He doesn't give specific formulas, but he's all about experimentation, seeing what works.
I like that. It's like he's saying magic isn't just about spells and rituals. It's about being mindful of our surroundings, using our creativity to shape our reality.
Exactly. And that's where his connection to chaos magic comes in.
Chaos magic. Remind me what that's all about again.
It's about challenging dogma, experimenting with different systems, finding what works for you. It's a very DIY approach, which fits Ellwood's style perfectly.
So he's not afraid to break the rules and forge his own path.
Mm-hmm.
No surprise there, given all this demon Pokemon stuff. But how does chaos magic actually show up in his work? Got any examples?
Sure. In his book, Inner Alchemy of Life, he uses something called Spear's Alphabet of Desire from chaos magic. It's this system for visually representing states of consciousness, kind of like a magical mood board.
Hold on. Magical mood boards to influence our biology. Is that what you're saying?
It is. He explores how to work with the body's neurotransmitters and even the microbiome.
Whoa, so he's talking about hacking our brains and bodies with symbols and rituals. That's next level pop culture magic.
It is, and it highlights this core principle of chaos magic. Paradigm piracy, basically borrowing techniques from any system you find useful.
So like a magical mashup.
Yeah, Ellwood's not afraid to mix and match whether it's ancient wisdom or modern science.
It's like he's built his own magical toolkit, picking the best tool for the job, no matter where it comes from.
Exactly. It's about understanding the principles and applying them in creative, personal ways.
And that brings us back to his art. You said he sees it as more than just aesthetics, right? It's a tool.
Absolutely. He's got a whole book coming out on this called The Magic of Art.
Okay, tell me more.
He says anyone can create magical art no matter how skilled they are. It's the intention, the energy you put into it that matters.
So it's not about being a Michelangelo, it's about the heart you put into it.
Exactly. But what does he do with it? Well, he creates long-term magical workings.
Magical workings. Sounds intense.
These are pieces of art that act as conduits for specific energies or intentions.
So like, I paint a picture of abundance, and boom, money starts flowing in.
Well, it's more nuanced than that, but you get the idea. He also creates evocation portals with his art.
Portals. Okay, now we're getting really out there.
Right. These are visual gateways to other realms or dimensions. He believes that by focusing on them, you can create a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds.
Mind blown. But I can see how combining intention, symbolism, and creative expression could be potent.
It is. And don't forget about his fascination with spatial design. Remember we talked about that?
Yeah, the whole interior decorating is magic thing.
Well, he believes the arrangement of objects, colors, even the direction you face, all of that impacts energy flow.
So it's like creating a whole magical environment, not just a single piece of art.
Exactly. And he encourages people to play with these ideas in their own spaces.
It's making me think about my apartment in a whole new way. But it's amazing how he brings together all these different things. Art, spatial design, chaos magic.
And don't forget his traditional magic background. He's weaving it all together.
It's like he's on a constant quest to understand the unseen forces shaping our world.
And that's what makes him so fascinating. He pushes boundaries, challenges us to think differently.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, what about his upcoming fiction novel, Learning How to Fly, right?
Yep. It's a superhero story, but with a twist. The hero has to go to remedial flying school.
Remedial flying school. Okay, that's hilarious. I'm
Yeah.
definitely checking that out. But is he putting all this pop culture magic stuff in the story on purpose?
He said he's not explicitly doing that, but he's open to fans finding those connections themselves.
That's cool, letting the readers discover their own meaning, maybe even their own magic, within the story.
Exactly. And it speaks to this bigger idea that magic isn't just in old books or secret societies. It's in the stories we tell, the art we create, even our love for fictional worlds. Which brings us to a question for you, the listener. If pop culture can, like, actually be magical, what's that say about, the stuff we watch and read and listen to?
Whoa, that's deep. Like, do our favorite shows and movies actually shape us in some magical way?
It makes you wonder, right?
It does.
Think about the sheer energy of a fandom like, say, Star Wars. Millions of people worldwide connected to these stories, sharing their passion, dressing up.
Cosplaying, writing fan fiction, coming up with theories.
Exactly. They're not just watching, they're adding to the whole mythology.
So, like, is that feeding the egregore? Is that how it grows?
It's possible, right? All that creative energy, all that shared passion, it's got to go somewhere.
Whoa, so, like, we're all weaving this giant invisible tapestry together with our love for these stories.
And if we were more aware of it, more intentional, could we actually steer that energy?
Steer it, you mean like use it to change things in the real world?
Maybe. It's like what Ellwood says about taking control of your own magic, your own practice.
Yeah, he's big on personal empowerment.
Right. We all have that potential, but it takes awareness and intention.
And a willingness to experiment, to try new things.
Definitely. So think about your own relationship with pop culture, right?
Okay.
What really speaks to you? What story, character, world connects with you on a deep level?
Like, deep down, you feel that connection.
Don't limit yourself to the usual suspects either. It doesn't have to be fantasy or sci-fi.
Right, it could be anything. Music, sports, even reality TV, I guess.
Exactly. If it sparks that passion, that energy, Elwood might say that's the fuel for magic right there.
So, like, my obsession with that one K-pop band, that could be magic.
Hey, you never know. But seriously, maybe by tapping into that consciously, you could unlock something amazing.
Unlock hidden potential. Achieve things you never thought possible.
And maybe even contribute to the evolution of that pop culture egregore itself.
Whoa, that's trippy. So we're not just consumers. We're active participants in this whole magical web.
It's a mind-blowing idea, right? It forces us to look at the stories we love in a whole new way.
Yeah, it's not just entertainment anymore. It's like a force that can shape reality.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about Ellwood's approach to spirits, his ideas about pop culture magic.
His crazy blend of tradition and, well, modern weirdness.
Right. But what about his art? We kind of touched on it before.
Yeah, he uses art as a magical tool, but how? Give us the details.
Well, he's got this book coming out soon, The Magic of Art. Really fascinating stuff.
I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
He says anyone can create magical art. It doesn't matter if you're a pro or just doodling in a notebook.
So it's not about skill. What is it about then?
It's the intention, the energy you put into the creation process. That's what gives it power.
Like, the art becomes a container for your will, your focus.
Exactly. Creating art becomes a ritual in itself, a way to connect with specific energies.
So it's not just the finished product, it's the act of creation that matters.
Exactly. So how does he use this magical art? Well, he makes these things called long-term magical workings.
Magical workings. See, that's kind of like a magical to-do list.
Sort of. These are pieces of art designed to channel specific energies or intentions.
So, like, I paint a picture of a peaceful forest, and it brings more tranquility into my life.
It's not quite as simple as that, but you're getting the idea.
Okay, I think I get it. And he also makes those evocation portals with his art. Right.
Oh, right. Those are like visual representations of gateways to other realms.
Other realms. Like, through the wardrobe into Narnia.
Maybe not Narnia, but yeah, something like that. He believes that by focusing on these images, you can actually bridge the gap between the physical and the spiritual.
Okay, now that's getting a little out there for me.
I know, it's a bit much, but think about it. It's like he's hacking into the subconscious through visual language.
That's an interesting way to put it.
And remember his fascination with spatial design. That ties into this too.
You mean like how he arranges his ritual space?
Exactly. He thinks the arrangement of objects, colors, even which way you're facing, it all affects energy flow.
So the environment you create around the art matters just as much as the art itself.
Absolutely. He even encourages people to experiment with this in their homes and offices.
So I could rearrange my furniture to boost my creativity or attract good luck.
Maybe. It's all about becoming aware of the energy around you and learning how to manipulate it.
I like that. It makes magic seem more accessible, more everyday.
Exactly. And it shows how Ellwood blends all these different ideas, art, Spatial design, chaos magic.
Not to mention his roots in traditional magic.
Right. He's not rejecting the old ways, he's just finding new ways to express them.
It's like he's this mad scientist of magic, always searching for new discoveries.
And that's what makes his work so exciting. He's pushing the boundaries, making us reconsider what's possible.
Speaking of which, let's talk about his new novel, Learning How to Fly. Superhero story, right?
Yeah, but get this. He started writing it over 20 years ago and just finished it recently.
Wow. Talk about dedication. But why a superhero story? What drew him to that genre?
He's said he's always been drawn to the idea of superhuman abilities, people overcoming limitations.
Which, in a way, is kind of like magic, right? Pushing past what we think is possible.
And who knows, maybe writing this story helped him understand his own magic better, too.
It's like his creative work and his magical practice are feeding off each other, influencing each other.
And that's what's so cool about Ellwood. He reminds us that magic isn't just rituals and spells.
It's about expanding our consciousness, embracing creativity, finding the extraordinary in everyday life.
And that's something we can all do, whether we consider ourselves magicians or not. So we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we?
We have. We talked about Ellwood's unique views on spirits, his ideas about pop culture magic, his use of art, his love of experimentation. It's been a wild ride.
It has. But before we wrap up, we want to leave you, the listener, with a few questions to think about.
Okay, so like if this guy's right, if the stories we love, the movies we watch, actually have some kind of magic in them, does that, I don't know, make us think differently about what we choose to consume?
Yeah. Makes you think about the impact, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, are we absorbing some energy, some like vibe from these stories without even realizing it?
Ella would probably say yes.
Right. He sees magic as this force that's working on us, on everyone, all the time. And the stories we connect with, especially the ones that really get under our skin, they could be shaping our reality.
Like, you know how sometimes after a movie you just feel different? Maybe that's not just the popcorn talking.
Whoa. So it's not just about escaping for a few hours. It's about choosing what kind of energy we want to let in.
Exactly. It's like being more mindful of what we're feeding our minds and hearts.
Right. So instead of just binge watching whatever's trending,
Right.
we could actually use pop culture for, I don't know, like personal growth.
It's a different way of looking at it, for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
And it kind of fits with Ellwood's whole thing about magic being participatory. Right?
Oh, yeah, totally. It's not just about passive consumption. It's about actively engaging with the world, with the forces that shape it.
So whether we're like summoning demons with Pokemon or just picking a movie to watch on a Friday night.
We're all part of this big magical dance, shaping reality with our choices.
That's kind of beautiful, actually.
Yeah.
So to wrap things up, we've been deep diving into the world of Taylor Ellwood and his whole pop culture magic thing.
We've looked at his work with spirits, his ideas about how fandoms create energy, his use of art.
It's been a wild ride, for sure. But before we go, we want to thank you, dear listener, for coming along with us.
If you're as intrigued by this guy as we are, definitely check out his books.
We'll put links in the show notes so you can explore further.
But even if summoning demons isn't your thing, we hope this deep dive has given you a new way of looking at the stories you love.
Yeah, what characters speak to you, what worlds capture your imagination. Maybe there's a magic hidden there, just waiting to be discovered.
And maybe by embracing that connection, exploring it with an open mind, you'll unlock something truly amazing within yourself.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Until next time, keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep diving deep into the mysteries of the world.